Okay, I'm going to pick up here at this slide that highlights again generativity. So generativity, remember one of Erickson's stages, generativity versus stagnation. So there are many different ways that people in adulthood during those 40 years are generative, but they seek out their own ways uh, to contribute, to do important work, work that they like. Um, so there are a lot of different ways. One of the main things that people in this age group do uh, to be generative is to care for children. And so parenting is a huge role that adults take on that clearly is giving to the next generation, raising and guiding the next generation. But being parents is not the only way to contribute to the care of children. And if you take just parenting in a broad sense, you have step parents as well as biological parents. We have adoptive parents. We have foster parents. I've probably forgotten other types of parents come in here, but the grandparents. There are many different people who care for us. So if we reflected on this for a moment in our own lives, we could probably come up with a list ourselves of the people who cared for us. Um, and then beyond parents as well, we can think of all the other people, nurses, doctors, medical assistants, different kinds of medical professionals, uh, teachers, all of the teachers in our lives who have so much impacted and contributed to our development. So there's a huge amount of effort, of course, into fostering the next generation. The next few slides here talk about biological children, non-biological, adoption, step parenting, foster parents, grandparents, some of the different things that that I had already mentioned, and give you a little bit more detail on those. Caregiving, a lifelong process. Uh, Sometimes as adults we're caring for children as well as older adults. They have this term here in our textbook called kin keeper, and that's an interesting term. I often mention it in the classroom. This is the person in our family who is really key for sort of doing the family gatherings, pulling people together. So you may have a parent or someone in that sort of role who likes to have the family gatherings, Thanksgiving, Fourth of July picnic, whatever it is, at their place, and they're the person who always knows about what's going on with the other people in the family. So maybe you have multiple kid keepers in your family. Another vocabulary word that is used in this chapter, actually it's two words, is social convoy, and that's much earlier in the chapter. But a social convoy is an idea of all the different people that we meet, not just our immediate or biological family, but our friends, our acquaintances who become close friends. All of those people who sort of gather together with us is called a social convoy. So that's another word that I like to mention with kin keeper. After the generativity of raising of the next generation, contributing to the development of the next generation, the major other avenue for generativity is employment. So adults have this need to be productively engaged. Of course, we have needs for money in order to purchase those, the things that we need in our lives, housing, food, shelter, etc. So employment is another great way of feeling generative, feeling like you're contributing, and it can push back on things like depression. So with unemployment, there can be a rise in depression. So a couple of slides here talk about work and the skills that we gain from it. We're using our personal skills. We may be developing creative energy, supporting the next generation, supporting older people. Um, and then they get to this idea of extrinsic and intrinsic. So you've probably heard of extrinsic versus intrinsic rewards in the past, but this slide just visits that again. So typically extrinsic are those things that motivate us that are outside of ourselves. So money is a key extrinsic reward. Um, let's see if they give us other, and this slide is saying salary, health insurance, a pension, things that we get for doing a good job. If this was a child, you might say like gummy bears or sweets or treats or a special outing could be extrinsic rewards. Those are things outside of us that we want to gain. Intrinsic rewards are the things that are more internal, so they're less tangible, and they are the sort of thing that make us kind of feel good. Intrinsically, it makes you feel good. I did that job really well. It got well done, and so I felt some pride of accomplishment. That might be one example of an intrinsic reward. So there are a few more slides here for you to review about work and employment. Some ideas on schedules, that there can be all kinds of schedules, and that diversity, in particular microaggressions is mentioned under diversity, so you might want to visit the idea of a microaggression. Let's see if I can just pull it up real quick here. Right here it is under accommodating diversity. So microaggressions are unintentional, typically, unintentional things that we might say, typically, or things that we might do that can be offensive to another person, and we don't really know that they're offensive. So let me see if I can find a short video on microaggression, and I can also attach that to this particular set of videos. Okay, great. So I'm going to stop there and let you just read through the rest of the slides on your own. Thank you.